Good morning. Uh, I think we can start the session now. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Aarti Chauhan, and I manage the software donation program here at Nasscom Foundation. We'll start with a little bit of housekeeping. Um, yeah. Housekeeping, all lines are muted. So if you have any technical issues throughout this session, please type it into the chat box, which is on your webinar panel. Also, if you have any questions during the session, please type it into the Q&A box. If you are on Wi-Fi connection and have multiple programs open, this can sometimes affect the quality of the audio and the video of the webinar. If possible, please close all your programs to help you have the best experience. Please note this webinar is being recorded and the link of the recording will be available on the Nasscom Foundation YouTube page. Now, I would like to give an overview about the Nasscom Foundation and the NGO empowerment. We, the Nasscom Foundation, are the only non-for-profit entity representing the tech industry and working for over 20 years in tech for good. We have a strong nationwide presence to facilitate the last mile impact, and a few of our programs powered by Tech for Good are interventions and the innovation spaces, diversity and inclusion, volunteering solutions, and many more. Moving on. Under NGO empowerment, we are strengthening the social ecosystem by leveraging technology to create a resilient and self-sufficient NGO sector that can effectively address societal challenges and drive positive change in communities across India. We are running 3 programs in the NGO empowerment: BigTech, MyKartavya, and capacity building programs. In BigTech, it is a platform for technology philanthropy in association with TechSoup, a non-for-profit technology capacity building organization based in US. We had 3 programs under BigTech, which is NGO software donation program, validation services, and NGO source. I know most of you know about these 3 programs, so I will not go into the detail. Moving on, the MyKartavya, it is a corporate volunteering program where we connect the industry associates to a wide range of opportunities to help non-profits to create better social impact. Our offerings entails under and virtual, and few of the examples are website revamping, IT audits, career counseling, mentorship programs, and many more. And capacity building programs are basically focused on providing NGOs with the tools, skills, and knowledge necessary to enhance their operational efficiency, improving their impact, and scale their efforts sustainably. I would like to talk about the impact we have created so far. So 1.69 billion of worth of software is donated to nonprofits. Since NGOs came to our BigTech platform, they have saved rupees 1.58 billion worth of money. With this, 2.7 million lives have been impacted across India, and more than 13,000 NGOs are registered in BigTech. And 30 plus corporates and more than 30,000 volunteers are also engaged with us with our volunteering program. And some of our BigTech donors are categorized in different verticals. Like, for example, for infrastructure, we have AWS, Azure, Box, Dropbox. Under marketing and communications, we have Adobe Photoshop, Adobe CC, Wix, Constant Contact, iFax. Donor management contains the Tableau, Zoho, Asana. Security and backup has Bitdefender, Norton, Quick Heal, and many more. And operations, we have Autodesk. Few of the highlights which I want to talk about: the NGO challenges while communicating, they face while communicating with the internal or the external team members. These are just the fragmented communication channels, lack of centralized communication systems, difficulty in managing distributed teams, limited budget for the premium tools, inadequate training, integration challenges, and I think there will be more. So to cater these challenges, I would like to call upon our speaker of the day, Jed Adao. He's a non-profit consultant with more than 10 years of experience in developing tailored digital transformation roadmaps and capacity building programs to enable for small to medium organizations to leverage tech for good. Over to you, Jed, and welcome.
Thanks, Artie, and thanks, everybody. First and foremost, big thanks to Nasscom Foundation, our longstanding partner in India, in arranging this amazing opportunity for us to talk to you. I'm very excited to actually be chatting with you about something that is quite near and dear to me, which is essentially improving your day-to-day operations. And we're going to talk about something that is very critical, yet something so foundational, which is your communications. So without further ado, let me share my screen really quick and let's kick things off. So for today, we want to talk about Slack. It is one of the most powerful communications platforms out there. We're talking about Slack not just because of its capacity or its features, but also because of what it represents. It gives you a great opportunity to streamline not just communications, but other activities that surround communications. We'll talk about that in a bit. And most importantly, we're talking about Slack because they actually offer donated plans to nonprofits. We want to get over that financial hump. We want to make sure that that is not a factor. And they are one of the more generous donors out there. Now, before we kick things off with the session, a little about me. Artie's given you a bit of a background. I am a tech consultant in a way. I've been consulting with nonprofits for the past 10 plus years, primarily supporting them in streamlining their operations, helping them achieve digital transformation, no matter what that means. My key expertise is on assessments, identifying challenges and opportunities for nonprofits to streamline their work and also to leverage technology sustainably and effectively. On a personal note, I am an accidental techie. I'm not trained in the traditional sense. I'm a strong proponent of the idea that, you can learn things. And that being said, I want you to remove that I am not a techie barrier today, because what we're going to talk about is something very entry level, something if I can learn it, you can definitely learn it. So what we want to achieve today are three key things. The first one is, before we even talk about the tool itself, let's talk about the larger thematic problem behind it, which is why are not a lot of organizations leveraging professional communication tools or dedicated communication platforms? There is a very big benefit to actually following through on that, and that's what we want to explore. Following that, we want to use Slack as our kind of like vehicle to open that discussion. Slack is but one of the many available resources out there that are available for nonprofits, either for a discount or for free. Slack is a powerful tool, which we'll discover later today, but I just want to highlight it's just one of the many resources available out there. And finally, we don't want to look at these as a one-off tool. We don't want to look at Slack as just, you're just a chat tool. Because if we look at it that way, then A, we're limiting the use case of it, and B, you're actually preventing yourself from leveraging it for far larger reasons. In a way, if you keep it as just a text or chat channel, you're actually opening opportunities to regress back into less professional tools, which has its own challenges, right? So that being said, these are the three key points that we want to achieve for today. And to kick us off, let's start with the first part, which is let's understand why having a dedicated communications platform actually matters for a nonprofit. Why is this important? So to paint the picture, we want to use a survey held a couple of years back in 2023. TechSoup, together led by our partner in Australia, Info Exchange, in collaboration with Nasscom Foundation, and the larger Asia Pacific Partners Network of TechSoup, we held a survey. We talked to about more than 1,000 nonprofits across the region, and we were essentially asking them, okay, what is your digital environment like? And when we say digital environment, it's really just a fancy way of asking, what do you use on a day-to-day basis? And how do you feel about that, right? How do you feel about these IT tools? To paint the picture of why a dedicated or proper communications platform is important for a nonprofit, here are 4 key highlights that we took from that survey, specifically coming from responses from India. The first part is only 16% are using a professional cloud suite. That means among those who responded from India, only 16% are using platforms like Google Workspace or Microsoft 365 for their day-to-day work. That means a lot of them are relying on legacy systems, maybe systems that are on-site or server-based on-site, or haven't moved entirely to the cloud yet, right? Or at least a professional cloud system using personal emails, mixes of different personal consumer apps and whatnot. Second, WhatsApp is by far the most common chat used for work. And it's safe to assume, because of the lack of a professional cloud suite, WhatsApp in this instance is referring to personal WhatsApp. It's essentially the same number you're using for your family chats, for your chats with families and friends. You're using the exact same environment for work as well. I think this is something highly relatable for everybody. Even for organizations with sophisticated environments, we can't escape that. We can't escape being contacted through WhatsApp. Third, 47% store files in in personal emails. And when we say personal emails, again, going back to those 16% that are, sorry, not 16%, the 84% that aren't using a cloud suite, 47% of those don't actually have a proper cloud storage, meaning they might be saving files in storages associated to personal or individual email accounts or elsewhere, right? Some may not even be leveraging the personal email itself. They're just keeping it in their drafts or whatnot in their email. And finally, the majority, 36%, felt that they were not adequately equipped for remote work. They felt like they were overburdened. They felt like there's a lot of room for improvement in this current scenario. Now, these are some of the key highlights that will set the baseline of how we want to approach that. But these are just data points. What is the actual story behind this? If you want to interpret it a bit more, if you want to dig deeper into the story, here's the reality of each data point and why investing in tools like Slack is important. First, yes, 16% use a cloud suite. That means 84% are using a mix of disconnected apps. From an administrative perspective, and I'm pretty sure not a lot of us here have dedicated IT teams, that is very laborious. Imagine having to manage how many disjointed applications, managing a separate app for your emails, separate app for your storage, separate app for your chat, separate app again for video conferences like this. That's a lot to take in. Not only are we multiplying costs, we're also multiplying the effort. We can easily streamline that, right? Second, leveraging free or consumer personal apps for communication does create a bit of a challenge. The biggest one is that lack of segregation between work and life. And work and life balance. That in of itself creates a lot of problems. It speeds up burnout for a lot of staff members. Also, it's a bit challenging, really. If you leave the organization, that means you're bound to ask the question, do I also change my number? Because I don't want to be part of that work chat anymore like that, right? Third, the personal files question, it creates actually a security gap. If we are leveraging file storages that the organization doesn't have direct control over, what happens if somebody leaves the organization? How do we take back those files? How do we modify access after that point in time, right? It creates gaps in terms of control and security of the sensitive files that we may be sharing internally, and where are they saving? And finally, the dissatisfaction is very easily an indication that there's a lot of room to consolidate and simplify. The less we need to think about what we're using, the more that we can think about how we can actually work better and how we can serve our communities more. I understand that a lot of us here are nonprofits that are already overburdened. Let's try to get rid of the easier burdens, which are the administrative matters for a day-to-day basis, right? That can easily be resolved. So, all in all, you may ask, well, Jed, not a lot of those are actually talking about communications per se. You were going out in different cylinders. You're asking about file storage, you're asking about overall satisfaction and day-to-day collaboration. Well, here's the thing, hear me out. Communication channels now aren't just specifically for chats. Communication channels now lay the groundwork for what is a highly integrated and streamlined work foundation or IT environment for any nonprofit. A very good example, if you're able to use Teams in Microsoft 365, Teams is actually not just a chat system. If you look at Teams, it's everything more than that. Teams is connected to your calendar. Teams is connected to your files. Teams is connected to every other app that you can sync in Microsoft, from as complex as Power BI to as basic as, for example, Viva Learning, right? That being said, we want to look at it from the baseline of communications, but on top of that, we also want to think about it as communications and what else, right? That being said, by exploring professional platforms such as Slack, we open ourselves up to these three key things. First, integration. Having professional solutions such as Slack can help us integrate not just our communications, but our communications together with other different operations. What I'll show you later is a very easy example. Operations and project management, operations and task tracking. Those are really critical day-to-day tasks, but in most cases, we think about them separate. Thankfully, tools like Slack, Teams, and whatnot, they're starting to think about communications as just the foundation, and they're building these branches towards larger day-to-day operations and how you can leverage a unified communication platform just for that. So integration is the first part. Second, segregation. As much as we want to segregate everything, we also want to create some level of, balance here. Easiest way to say this, work-life balance. Segregate that, because on top of that, you can achieve a lot of efficiencies from having a separate work chat from a personal work chat. For example, I can have a separate to-do list in my work email that I can turn off if I'm on leave. That preserves my sanity, and I hope you're trying to explore ways you can preserve yours as well. So one of the key reasons why we also want to explore professional channels is that segregating work life from your personal life. And finally, ownership. One of the least appreciated benefits of having a dedicated work chat, particularly a professional one at that, is ownership. Ownership of data. You're keeping all of the information being shared in a work setting owned by the organization. That's not actually a bad thing. Going back to something as easy as sensitive work files, you don't want those being associated to personal emails that the organization doesn't have control over, right? Because say that person leaves, or if that person's personal email gets, say, compromised, which is highly more likely compared to a professional account with additional security features, you lose a lot of control over that, or actually you can't exercise a lot of control. So again, going back, one of the key advantages we're going to take advantage of, for the lack of a better word, is also ownership. Being able to associate ownership of your digital footprint, your communications, and your files solely within the organization, because we're keeping everything flowing within that platform, right? So that being said, those are the key things that we want to achieve. And these are the key benefits that we want to work towards. That's why we're exploring professional systems such as Slack. So now, let's try to unpack essentially the guest of honor, Slack. That's what we want to talk about today. How can it actually help? How can it help us achieve those three key things, right? So let's move forward. The first thing we want to understand is, what exactly is Slack? For those of you that have not used Slack before, it's pretty simple. Slack is easily a communications app that users can consolidate your chats or communications with. Now, here's the important thing. When we say communications, the beauty about Slack is that it's actually helping you simplify, organize, and consolidate your communications with three key audiences. And let's unpack that one by one. The first one naturally is colleagues and collaborators. Slack gives you a platform to chat with your colleagues within an organized setting. And on top of that, it also gives you a platform to invite external collaborators. If you're working with contractors, partners, whether they're on Slack or not, you can actually invite them to join you in your workspace. So that's one. It gives you that consolidated platform for your external collaborators. The other one, Slack actually gives you space to talk to yourself, interestingly enough. And there are a lot of interpretations for that. In Slack, the first thing, actually, not the first thing, I want to say it's one of the newer things I've started to appreciate more is that me section. You have a space to talk to yourself, whether that's jotting down notes, setting up reminders. In some cases, I've had histories of saving random passwords there as well because my Slack is protected by MFA. But don't follow that example. You can use that space as your private pseudo work diary, much like how you would use OneNote. So there. And finally, your apps. And here is again another less appreciated feature of Slack. It's not just consolidating and simplifying your work with people you work with, such as colleagues and collaborators. It's not just helping you organize your thoughts. It's also helping you organize your day-to-day experience with the different apps that you work with every day. For example, in TechSoup, I have Slack as my communication channel. We use Google for our file storage. We use Teams to have calls like these. And we have Asana for our project management and task tracking. Easily, those are four different apps. On a day-to-day basis, I would have to hop across these four different apps, logging in each of them. And if there's a meeting that I need to use all four of them, just imagine the chaos of my monitor, right? Those are easily four different apps. The beauty with Slack, it can integrate with an array of third-party apps that it will do the talking for you. So I can easily talk to my Asana account, interact with my tasks without leaving Slack. I'm just chatting with Asana in Slack. And you can do that with an entire library of integrations that Slack can immediately offer. So to go over those again, Slack can help you simplify your communications with people you work with yourself, and most importantly, give you a unified space where you can easily coordinate and collaborate with the array of apps that you have to use on a day-to-day basis, saving you that time and hassle of having to hop back in and out of different platforms. And naturally, Slack is free for nonprofits. If you are an eligible organization, you are free to access up to 250 users. Or if you need beyond that, I believe Slack is going to give you a hefty discount. Can't recall exactly if it's about 75 to 85%, but it's a significant discount. And also, it's accessible via desktop, mobile, or browser. So that is Slack on an overview. Now let's try to understand Slack from a feature perspective or from a day-to-day basis. Again, I mentioned to you that it helps you organize your communications across three different audiences. The first one naturally is group DMs. Slack is known for being able to help you create an array and a library of group DMs. And to show you that, I'm going to open my test account. I hope you can see that. So here's my test account. And as you can easily see, I have all of my direct messages here. So that typically, if you have a big organization or whether you have a small organization or a big one, this is where you can easily just chat with everybody in your organization. You can find them there. Now, since this is a test account, I only have like about 2 people here. But if you see my personal account, there's a far larger list of people in TechSoup's directory. Now, going back, so that's the group DMs. Group DMs can go for about a one-on-one conversation up to 9 people. The only key difference is that if you're communicating at a group DM, for example, for 4 people and say, hey, hang on, I need to add another person. If you add another person to that DM, it will create an entirely different conversation without carrying over the history. So that's one of the key challenges. But if you want a channel, or sorry, a communication line that actually retains histories, regardless of the changes in the members, then that's where you can use channels. Channels are really just DMs as well, but for a larger scope. It can go up, it can go for as few as 2 people to as many as 100 plus, I believe. Essentially, channels are your group DMs that retains histories. For example, here we have this group here. If I leave a channel, it won't impact the history. Unlike when you leave a DM, it will create an entirely new DM, a group DM with just the people remaining, right? That's the beauty of a channel. Now, channel can be interpreted in different ways for an organization. Some channels might be dedicated to, say, departments. There is a department channel for HR, for finance, leadership, and whatnot. It can be both open, meaning anybody who is part of the workspace can join, or private, meaning it's by invitation only. And don't be limited by professional reasons. In TechSoup, we have channels that are far more casual. For example, we have a World Cup group channel, and we have a World Cup channel, which is alive every 3 or so years when the World Cup is on. That's where we trash talk every country that's out there. So cool. And finally, your me space. Your me space is essentially, again, your personal diary. And now to quickly show you what these things look like, let's go back to my test account. So as you can see, this is a group DM. These are the direct messages, for example. Here is my direct message with another test account. And this is using a free subscription, so hence the free trial. The other one is, if I look into a channel, here, there's not a lot, but let's go here to my other account. Here is a channel. It will retain its history regardless of how many people have left or joined. And finally, going back here, here is what what is the me section, what it would look like. As you can see here, I've been leaving myself messages just to remind me. Like, for example, hey, please drink water. Oh, I've forgotten to do this, so I can easily set up again another reminder for, say, 3 hours. That way I'm reminded in about 3 hours to drink water. So these are some of the interpretations of Slack's interface and how you can use it to your advantage for work. Going back, so these are really just the different spaces it offers, right? So again, with colleagues, it gives you these key areas. Your direct messages for one-on-one or more urgent communications. It can go between 2 to 9 people. Channels are for really larger groups that retains histories regardless of the changes in members. And you have 2 other key features here, which are starred and VIP. Starred is essentially applied to a channel. If in TechSoup, for example, we have hundreds of channels at this stage. Now, I only need to interact with 10, and I don't want to be scouring through that library of 100 channels every time just to find the chats that I need to look at. So starring is really marking it as your favorite. It creates a separate section which has quick access to these channels that you interact with on a day-to-day basis or commonly. And VIP is essentially a list of individuals who, when they message you, it will bypass your notifications. And when I say bypass notifications, take for example, I have my notifications off from between 6 p.m. to about 9 a.m. the following day. And that's because I'm off work. If somebody from my VIP list, for example, my boss is in my VIP list, if my boss messages me at 8:30 in the evening, I will get that notification. So that's your VIP list. It's really the people who you feel like need to communicate with you mostly because of urgent matters. And you can mark them so that they can bypass your notification schedule. So moving from there, another key thing that I want you to also explore with Slack is how you can use it to work with external people, collaborators. So the one key thing that I love about it is, and you may have seen this already earlier, if say you have different Slack accounts, or not really Slack accounts, if say you are invited to different Slack workspaces, and when we say workspace, it's the equivalent of an organization. I have a workspace for TechSoup. I have a workspace for my test account, which is registered under a different email. And I have another workspace, for example, with a collaborator. I was invited into their Slack account. I log now with these different accounts just to communicate with them. The beauty with Slack is that it actually retains your login and allows you to jump back and forth easily with a click. I'll show you that really quickly. From here, as you can see, I have 3 workspaces here, my TechSoup account, my test account, and also another third-party group, Refuel, which we collaborate with. That being said, I can jump across these different accounts with a click. For example, between my test account here, it's registered under a different email. I can go back to my TechSoup account for work purposes. So between working and doing demos, it only takes me a click to shift workspaces. So that's a really neat feature. Second, external connections. Slack doesn't necessarily have to be private. You can actually invite other people to join you in your own account, much like what you've seen earlier, right? In Slack, if you're inviting people from a different organization, or if they're not part of your Slack account, if they're not part of your domain, they're going to be tagged as external collaborators, and they're going to have their own separate section, as you can see in my screenshot right here. Additionally, you can also invite external collaborators to channels that are already existing in your account with other colleagues of yours. So that's another key thing. Now, with this, you don't necessarily, again, need to hop back in and out of different accounts. You're consolidating all of that into one easy experience. And finally, external connections and channels. Much like what I said, you can connect people to channels that are already existing. This way, you can easily collaborate or create mixed teams, right? For example, if you have a project, you've created a channel for that project that brings together different people from different departments. Then you realize, oh, wait, hang on. We need external collaborators, say contractors for content development, for example. You can easily invite them to that channel, and that shouldn't impact your billing as well. As long as you're inviting them to just one channel, which I believe is the limit for nonprofit plans for external connections. So there. Finally, to wrap up the consolidation portion of this, it's consolidating your apps. This is my personal favorite topic. Slack gives you a neat space to integrate with a lot of third-party apps that you use on a day-to-day basis. And not only integrate with in your Slack workspace, but also interact with it. I'll show you that really quickly. Let's go back. Actually, not here. Let's open my test account, my TechSoup account, my actual TechSoup account. And from here, as you can immediately see, let me highlight this. Under automations, you're going to be able to see the amount of apps that you can easily integrate with a click of a button. As long as you have an account in any of these, you can easily just click integrate, log in, allow for the permissions, and voila. You're good to go. It is that easy. There is no technical setup for that. Now, let's go back to my home. Let's go back to my feature test. Now, for example, I mentioned to you earlier that we use Google for our file sharing, right? For example, I need to create a presentation, and I need to share it with this group, with my Slack feature test group. In most cases, you'd open a browser, you'd go to Google, you'd go to your account, create a presentation there, share it back to the group. Here, you don't need to do that anymore. Here's just slash create doc. Sorry, present Google. I forgot G here. The hotkey for Google is /G, and it's going to list down all of the quick actions I can do. I can create a document, create an event, create a calendar invite, and most importantly, create a presentation, which is what I need, within Slack, without having to leave Slack. Now, if I do that, it's going to say test presentation, and it will give you the option to immediately share this document with the people in your workspace, in that specific channel. So, hey, folks, I need you to review this presentation and also help me build it. Thank you. And once I press create, it's going to it's going to trigger that there. And I'm now starting to work on a presentation that is immediately shared with everybody who's part of that workspace. Oh, sorry, channel, not workspace, that channel. Easy peasy, right? So that's the beauty of Slack and its integration with apps. Now, to quickly show, here are a couple of key things that I can show you. If you need to create an event right here. It's immediately going to trigger the same fields that you need to fill out when you're arranging a meeting invite, such as the guests, calendar, whose calendar are you syncing it to, what time and whatnot. It's going to create an invite immediately in Slack. Another thing, Asana. If I need to create a task in Asana, which we use for project management, there, Asana, create a task, and so on. These are just some of the integrations. As you can see right here as well, we have Teams integrated, so I can go from a Slack chat to a Teams call within a click of a button. Pretty easy, So it's saving you a lot of time through these integrations. Going back, let's go back to my presentation here. Again, it offers you a library of integrations. Those are just some of the easy examples that you can immediately try out. And most importantly, gone are the days where you have to log in and out of different apps, wasting minutes of your time, and even more minutes if you forget your password, right? Just having to navigate back and forth across different apps. You can now all interact with all of these in a single space. Asana gives you that. Slack gives you that. Now, outside of these, I'm gonna be wary of time because I want to leave time for questions. Just power through really quickly. Some other critical features that I would like you to explore for Slack. One is huddles. Slack has since introduced a built-in video call system. You can use this up to 50 people if you're on a if you're on a premium plan, which is free for nonprofits. If you're under a free plan, it's a one-to-one, one-on-one call only. So that means you can easily go from chats to calls within a click of a button. It doesn't have recording though. Heads up, Slack doesn't allow you to record it. Second is Canvas. I'll demo this in a bit. Canvas is essentially, say, a landing page that you can associate to your DMs or to your channels. The best interpretation of this is, for example, you have a department channel, say HR department. You can use that canvas to keep a repository of important links and reminders. For example, here's where you're going to find your leave form, reimbursement form, etc., etc. It's going to give you that single space to consolidate all important information related to that channel or related to that DM. Lists is a deeper feature that deserves a call of its own. Lists allows you to create a project management view. I'm going to quickly demo that in a bit. But this is something you can use if you want an entry-level project management tool that leverages where you communicate. And I cannot stress that enough. It is important to use a project management tool that interacts where you communicate, right? That's very critical. So Lists does exactly that. You can create a task tracker, a budget form, etc. through Lists. And finally, automations. This is something I'm still exploring, but you can create a lot of automated workflows using Slack. A very good example is I did a test before with Lists where if a new entry is created, we have a custom notification that says, "Hey Jed, you got to look at this. A new list entry has come up." Another key automation is that as simple as creating a form and having that form connect to a list. So it could be used for requests and so on and so forth. And finally, we're down to the last bit, which actually is just 2 slides. Outside of communication, how else should we interpret Slack? How else should we be using Slack? So in expanding your use cases, here are a couple of easy examples. One, departmental channels and canvases. use your channels to organize how you communicate with, how you communicate. Use them to determine maybe branches of your organization if you're working across different locations, or maybe to segregate across different departments. Then leverage your canvas to consolidate information that's relevant to that. I'll just show you a good example of what that looks like. Going back here, Slack feature test. For example, we have a new project, and here it is, project overview. I can use my canvas as a landing page for, say, the tasks, the deadlines, the objectives, and also a list of links and resources related to it. I can use it as an agenda for our weekly sync, as you can see here. And don't worry, Slack has a library of templates you can leverage for this, and so on and so forth. Another quick overview is if you're going to use this for project management, this is what a list would look like. For example, I need to create a training overview for Slack, a training agenda. This is what it would look like. Here are the new items that I need to cover. Here is what is in progress, blocked, on hold, and completed. And I can easily move them across here. On top of that, I can assign people associated to each task. I can customize the fields that I want to track, and so on and so forth. Really, like if you've had experience using entry-level project management tools like Trello, that's exactly what it's trying to achieve. And yeah, project tracker, much like what I've shown earlier. And that's about it. I want to try to leave as much room for questions as much as I can. To quickly give you an overview, Slack, again, eligible organizations, I believe it requires an FCRA status though, can acquire Slack 100% free as a donation, or if you require more than 250 users, you'll receive a hefty discount of about, I think 75 to 85%. I forgot exactly the number, and so on. If you need help getting started with Slack, TechSoup has done a lot of trainings, tailored trainings and consultations and configurations. Reach out to us so we can scope the costs and the coverage, right? My email is there. I've personally managed these projects. You can work with me so that we can tailor it for you. The key important message I want to highlight here, start dedicating and investing time on finding a communications channel, because it gives you a lot of opportunities like that. Slack is just one of the many options. You have Teams, you have even Monday.com to a certain extent is becoming a communications channel, HubSpot as well. There are a ton of apps. Just make sure you plan properly. If you need help, reach out to us. We can help consult with you, all right? And that's about it for me. I'm going to pass the mic back to Artie for questions or for Q&A.
Sure. Thank you so much, Jed. I think it was a wonderful presentation. Yeah, I think for the participants, and few of the questions they have asked for the participants limit and asking, yeah, the participants limit. Somebody has asked me. And
That's
the
a good.
channels that has a list and yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, please, Jed, go ahead.
Thank you. These are very good questions. Participants limit, I can name a couple of, depends on what we're talking about. If we're talking about the donated plan, 250 users max. If we're talking about channels, there's no actual limit they've identified, but naturally that depends on how big your organization is. In terms of huddles, a huddle call can hold up to 50 people per call. But that is if you're a premium plan. And premium is donated for nonprofits. If you're under a free plan, it's strictly one-on-one. Cool. And I'll move to the next question, Artie. The channels has lists in Canvas. 100% yes. I'm going to show my screen again. Come on. As you can see here, we are at a channel, the Slack feature test. This is a channel on its own. And you can, if you are on a donated premium plan, you can create as many canvases and lists as you want. Associate that to a DM, a channel or a group message, you can do all of those. For example, here, this is a channel, and as you can see, I have multiple canvases associated to it. So yeah, it's 100% accessible to channels, lists and channels. Sorry, lists and canvases are can be associated to a channel. Moving on, if we're already using Teams for communication, will it still add some value to Slack? I would actually argue against exploring additional tools such as Slack if you're already deeply within Teams. Now, I would stress it all depends on your foundational cloud environment. If you are based in Microsoft, I would leverage Teams. If you are in Google, I would leverage Google Chats, but it's fairly limited in features. So that's when something like Slack could actually support. Also because Google and Slack actually integrate very well together. But for your case, if you're already on Teams, I wouldn't advise you explore Slack, but rather you deepen your use case of Teams because you're already in that platform that leverages your entire Microsoft environment, assuming that you're in Microsoft. That being said, there's no need to actually explore a third-party tool. Leverage what is already available. Also helps you save money as well, money and effort. Okay.
All right. Yeah. And FCRA registration is mandatory. Yes.
I
For
believe so,
Slack.
yes. Yeah, I believe so, yes, because it is an international donor and these require FCRA status. Yeah.
Also, one question, can Slack be used if there's no active internet connection in the phone?
That's a good one. It does, but not the best. Like, it's like saying, can I use Teams if I don't have a connection? You can interact with it. You're not going to be able to achieve a lot, unfortunately. So, it is a fairly lightweight tool. So, if you're challenged in terms of bandwidth, it's not very demanding. But if you have challenges in actual connection, that's going to be a different conversation entirely. Not a lot you can do when it's offline, though.
Moving on, next question. For Slack's non-profit plan, how long is the message history retained? Is it full history like in paid plans, or is there a limit similar to the free plan?
So there is no difference between a nonprofit plan and a paid premium plan. Slack donates the premium plan to eligible nonprofits. So you're leveraging the exact same plan, but for free. I need to double check because as far as I know, it's full history. Like they don't get rid of anything. And I can attest to that because there are a number of people who have since left our organization and I can still find my chats with them. Not unless your admin actively does some archiving activity. As far as I know, it's full history. But let me double confirm and I'll get back to you with notes after the session.
There is a feature like WhatsApp bulk sender to DM a message to 100 more people. If yes, kindly, show us for better understanding. Sure.
Bulk sending. So do you mean to say you're sending the exact same message privately to unique individuals? If that is the interpretation of it, I haven't explored that yet, but let me look into it. But if you need to bulk send something that is not sensitive and has no dynamic content, meaning there are certain parts of it that doesn't change, it's pretty much constant, I would just rather use chuck them in a channel, communicate with them through there. I've not used a bulk DM at the moment, but I'll see if that is possible.
Uh, does Slack provide integral space for storing documents in one place? And what is
Yes,
it to it?
The answer to that is yes, and I'm actually quite annoyed that it does because I have a nasty habit of when you're using different tools, naturally there's some level of what do you call this? You need to be able to monitor where you're actually saving them, right? Remember before when we would send files back and forth over email and you would forget, okay, where did I actually save this file? And this is where I'm coming from. Slack does allow you to save files internally within it, but in a way that you need to send that as a message, maybe to yourself or to somebody, in order for you to be able to upload that document. Does it have a file limit? I don't recall it does, but let me double check. Now, the annoying part of that is if you don't monitor it, and if you have a proper cloud storage facility, that's going to create a very messy environment. So while it does allow that feature, I would rather you focus on consolidating. For example, if you're using Google or Microsoft, keep to OneDrive or Google Drive and simply share links in Slack, not the actual file. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very difficult to monitor and backtrack where you've kept these files, particularly if they are live files that you need to edit constantly.
All right. Uh, Vasumati is saying that she uses Dropbox and Google Workspace and Asana, Monday.com, etc. And should one of them also be used with Slack? Like I guess you do said about the Asana,
Ah,
Google, yes, Google also, and Monday.com can be integrated in Slack.
I believe yes. Actually, let's do that live here. Let's explore the library integration. So you're saying Slack, you can use Asana, Monday.com. So Asana, definitely yes. Google Workspace, definitely yes. I believe Dropbox as well. So for you to be able to find available integrations, find this More tab right here and go to Automations. Under Automations, you'll see the apps right here. And this is where you can explore the library. Now let's find them one by one. So first, Asana, definitely yes, right there. Dropbox. Ah, perfect. Yes. So Dropbox, you can connect to it, connect Dropbox to Slack, and much like how I interact with Google Workspace, you can do that as well with Dropbox. Google, we've shown you can. Monday.com. There, yep. Is a work. Now let's see what it does, because Monday is such a diverse, it's such a rich program. Let's see what it can do. But short answer, yes, apparently to all of those. Okay, so much like Asana, you can instantly create new items such as tasks or projects directly from Slack conversations. So there you go. So quick answer, yes to all of those.
Right. We get validated right here. So, uh, moving on to the live questions. If somebody wants to ask questions to Jed or I can unmute them.
Heads,
Anything?
heads up as well. I know Monday.com runs a direct donation to nonprofit. It doesn't go through the TechSoup program or Nasscom. Explore it. I know Monday because I've worked with a couple of clients that have gotten direct donations from Monday.com for up to 10 accounts. Just Google Monday.com for nonprofits to explore the guidelines. So that is something worth exploring. And sorry, and to Artie's message there, for those of you who want to ask live questions, feel free to unmute. I won't bite virtually.
Yes, please. And basically, I think Vasumati is asking for how to choose in between these, apps. How, I mean,
Ah,
Vasumati, can you please unmute and then I can directly ask what exactly you want to know? Sure.
okay. Okay. Thanks for clarifying there. This is a deeper conversation that I don't think I can answer immediately here. But what I can give you is this: the key point here is that your environment is a mix of Dropbox and Google Workspace. You want to explore Slack, but you also want to explore together with Slack, Asana, and Monday.com. The first thing that you want to understand here is that what exactly are we trying to achieve? If we're just trying to improve our communications, then Asana and Monday.com get set aside because they're for a different purpose. They're more for project tracking and project management. So they're not necessarily going to do what you want them to do. So Slack becomes a perfect option. But here's the thing. There's also a factor of preference. Where are you currently talking? If you're already leveraging Google Chats, and that's pretty much sufficient for you, then that's where you have to draw the line. Or do I still need to integrate Slack, which is actually outside of that environment? Because there's also that retraining factor that you have to consider, right? Now, in terms of going beyond that, beyond communications and more towards project management, it's now a question of two things. A, who do we need to license? Are we expecting to license every member? Because that A, that's a cost implication, and B, it's also a matter of being able to centralize or consolidate your information stream. A lot of project management implementation adoption initiatives fail because you immediately go license everybody and nobody adopts it. My recommendation, if you're looking towards a project management approach, look at it this way. Identify managers who you think can lead the conversation and start with them. In terms of choosing the right tool between Asana and Monday.com, Asana has more features in terms of creating like a pseudo CRM because Asana is more than just, Monday.com has more features in that almost approaches a pseudo CRM. If you've had experience with tools like Airtable, who can create lists or spreadsheets that you can turn into a pseudo CRM, that's where Monday.com shines. Asana, however, it shines in the sense that it's actually a more simpler, at least from my experience, simple interface, deeper project management functions and reporting tools. So if you're going to go lean heavily on project management, Asana is your way. If you're looking for more of a diverse pseudo CRM slash task management system, Monday might be your better option. So there are a number of different variables there. But we need to first understand what are your goals, what is the environment that you're working at, what is your team's preference, and how do you work. So we need to unpack those first in order to be able to give you a proper recommendation.
All right. I think that was very informative.
Sorry, it was a lot as well. Sorry. Please
I
contact me. I'm happy to have a consultation, man. Just contact me.
definitely, it was very informative, just to, understand what exactly you want to choose from. So, yeah, I think we are reaching the time limit as well. So if you had any last minute questions, please ask. You can unmute and then ask, or if you want, I have already given my email ID on chat. You can email me your questions. I can definitely, pass these questions to Jed, and he can answer for you. So if not, I just want to quickly show this window. Um, Also to, explore these also softwares we already have on BigTech, Asana definitely, Zoho One, Slack I have shared the link to Slack as well on chat, Webex, Hootsuite, or explore these. You can explore these softwares as well. Moving on, I would like you to give us the feedback how you feel about this webinar, and if you please have any questions going forward, you can please directly ask us. Fill this form. It will be helpful for us to make our going forward webinars more informative for you, definitely. So yes, please scan this, fill up this feedback form. It's very helpful from both sides. So I think that's it, Jed. Maybe, yes.
Cool. So that's it, guys. It was such a pleasure spending this my afternoon with you folks. I think it's still morning in India. Really appreciate it.
Yes,
And
yes, more.
really appreciate it. Thanks again, RD. And you have my email. I'll send the deck with my email to RD as well. She'll distribute it to you. And looking forward to exploring more and having chats with you guys. Thanks, everyone.
Sure. Thank you so much, Jed. Thank you so much for your time for this lovely presentation.
No
Thank
worries.
you. And
Thank
thank you,
you.
everyone, participants, for joining us. Thank you so much. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.